Hey, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be about heart health and endothelial function, nitric oxide, and sleep. So a lot of things going on here. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that now. LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol. So when you take a look at your blood work and when you do your annual blood exam, you look at kind of what's going on in your LDL and HDL. If you don't know what LDL is your bad cholesterol. Your HDL is your good cholesterol. And your HDL, you want it above 40. Your LDL, you want it below 100. Usually HDL lower than 40 is usually associated with depression, just kind of not feeling your best. So I have my notes in front of me, so I'm just going to read my notes. So total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol are actually not good to predict risk for atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is when there starts to form plaque in the artery. So the cholesterol isn't necessarily the problem. It's usually the lipoproteins that are transporting it around the system. So LDL stands for low density lipoproteins. So you can get advanced blood work if you're trying to check your cholesterol, and maybe if your cholesterol is a little higher than normal, you can get advanced blood work that looks at LDL particle count or ApoB particle. So when you look at your blood work, you can get what's called the LDL particle count. Take a look at that, or the ApoB particle, and they both are the main ships driving the cholesterol around your body. Traditional lipid panels, they just look at the LDL and the HDL count, but you can actually get a LDL particle count blood test if you want a more specific test. Endothelial cells are what make up the lining of your blood vessels, and usually sometimes there can be endothelial damage. If you have endothelial damage, you can be at risk for like a heart incident or any sort of kind of cardiovascular situation from happening. Also known as endothelial damage, which is also known as coronary artery disease. So you want to make sure if you're eating whether you're eating a lot of saturated fats or you eat a lot of animal, kind of red meat, if you have that kind of fat built up I'll have a picture on the screen so that you kind of get a visual of what I'm trying to say. But if you have like the fat kind of built up in the arteries, it's not good. That's where it can lead to possible heart attack. Endothelial damage, there's different ways to identify endothelial damage. You can get what's called a max pulse test. You can get an endopat test. Both test the elasticity of the arteries. If you have springy arteries, it means you have good function of the endothelial cells. If you have more stiff arteries, it could mean that there's an endothelial issue or problem that's present. Another good test that I found is the carotid intima media thickness test. This is CIMT, and it looks at the thickness of the walls of the carotid artery. I'll have a picture of the carotid artery. It's right here around the neck. The thicker the walls of the carotid artery, the more inflammation that is present. Usually, that is present. And this test can also give you the CIMT can also give you what's called a vascular age. So your blood vessels could be age, let's say 40, but you're actually age 20, just as an example. So technically your system is aged more than what you are actually, because of maybe the damage that you or someone did, but from the choices that they've made. So you're essentially as old as your arteries is what this test is trying to show. Obviously, diet and exercise are important, so you want to make sure that you have those, on a routine. That's the endothelial function. I'm going to jump into sleep now. Some tips on like sleep, the importance of sleep, different ways to deal with kind of technology, because with technology now we have access to screen time, and that can obviously has its problems too if it's not monitored correctly. So the first thing is, if you don't sleep well, you don't repair the damage that was going on during exercise. So if you do a lot of exercise, or if you do a lot of stress if you cause a lot of stress on the body, you need to rest in order for that body to recover. So if you're not sleeping, you're not resting, you're doing yourself a disservice. You want to start getting more rest and more sleep. I usually say that if you're working out, if you're trying to lift weights and trying to build muscle tissue, then you need to sleep at least 8, maybe even 10, maybe even 12 hours, because your body it will crave it in some way, shape, or form. Or you'll just start to get stressed out and it will manifest in other ways. So a couple tips with sleeping: you want to control your light environment. You can block artificial light when you're inside. You can wear tinted glasses when using a computer. So if I use so for example, I can use sunglasses while I'm using my computer, or you can get daytime blue light glasses. And ideally you want to get daytime blue light glasses that block up to 450 nanometers. So if you just Google that, 450 nanometers blue light glasses, you can get one of those and wear that when you're on the computer. And this type of glasses, it should have some sort of yellow tint to it. And then usually at night you can switch to a 550 nanometer blue light or computer glasses. And usually this is red color glasses. Another tip for sleeping is when you try to go to sleep at, let's say, for example, 10 p.m. and try to rise up with the sun. When you rise with the sun and when you look at the sun, like with your eyes, it can actually set the clock for your body for the day, because the light from the sun, it programs a receptor in the brain. It's called the supracosmetic nucleus. I'll have a picture here on the screen. And this is also the master clock of your body, and it tells you how to make neurotransmitters and hormones. So if it's out of whack and if it's not working properly, it can set a lot of other things off. So that's why you want to have a consistent sleep schedule, so that your body kind of adapts to that and you don't have sleeping issues. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is a heart scan. So I'll have a picture here on the screen. These are the results of a specific heart scan. The heart scan is called the coronary calcium scan, and ideally you want your score at 0. As you can see, 0 is non-identified. It's a negative test. A score of 1 to 400 is you're going to be at a minimal or moderate risk for any sort of heart event happening. So you don't want your heart muscle to get big. You only want your muscles, if you're into fitness and you use some sort of enhancement or what have you, it's possible that the heart can get bigger, your muscles, tissues can get bigger, and your heart can get bigger, which is not something that you want, especially if you or if your body was designed to be, let's say you were designed to be a 150-pound female or 150-pound male, and all of a sudden you're trying to be 180 pounds on stuff that you're not, your body is, it's a foreign object to the body. That can obviously cause other issues, but there are ways to kind of monitor it, specifically the heart, because that's the most precious muscle in the body. Without the heart, you have nothing. So you don't want your heart to get bigger. So one thing you can do is get a heart scan. It's called a coronary calcium scan. And then again, going back to that endothelial damage, you can get those tests done: max pulse test, endopat test, and the CIMT, the carotid intima media thickness test, if you really want to dive into what's going on. What happens when the heart gets too big is it starts to get more stiff, and you can end up with what's called diastolic dysfunction. So 1/3 of the muscle in the heart is made up of mitochondria. The mitochondria are basically an organelle in the cells. So our bodies are basically trillions and trillions of cells. In each cell you have organelles, and in the cell you have a mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's what kind of gives that it's what kind of gives it energy, so to speak. it takes more energy for your heart muscle to relax than it does to squeeze. So you can imagine if you have a very enlarged heart, it can take a lot for your body to just relax with that big of a heart, especially if your body wasn't designed to be, that big, whatever size that you're at. So in addition to having diastolic dysfunction, the heart can actually eventually have systolic dysfunction where the heart doesn't squeeze well. And then just a couple of things that are usually linked to the heart. So high blood pressure, sleep apnea, specifically if you are larger in size, you have more muscle tissue than the average male. You're using PEDs, performance enhancements, for a long period of time. It's good to see the structural integrity of your heart muscle, and one way to look at the structural integrity of the heart muscles, you can get an echocardiogram. It's basically an ultrasound for the heart, and it takes a look inside the heart to see what's going on. The next thing I'm going to talk about is nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is a molecule nitric oxide is a molecule that the body produces naturally, and certain foods have naturally occurring nitrates, things like celery, beetroot, spinach, arugula. Actually, I made a video about my beetroot, and I mentioned in that video how too much of that can actually lead to kidney stones. Usually it's also associated with not drinking enough water. But the main function of nitric oxide is vasodilation, basically kind of expanding the vessel, the blood vessel, or relaxing the blood vessel to widen it and to increase circulation. So ways to increase nitric oxide, it's really good usually for endurance runners or endurance people that want to get in a lot of oxygen because they're in an endurance sport. But ways to increase nitric oxide examples are consuming vegetables because they're high in nitrate. Like I mentioned, celery, beetroot, spinach, and arugula. You can get more antioxidants, things like glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin E, polyphenols. I made a video about polyphenols. And then glutathione, you can actually get that, whether it be injectable or you can get a supplement route. And then, of course, exercise. It's only really going to benefit you as long as you don't abuse it. Heart health, endothelial function, nitric oxide, and sleep. Just a couple of things that you can start to do your own research on if you like, on if you are kind of exposed to any sort of heart event. You want to start monitoring your heart, see what's going on. Or if you have a genetic predisposition to a heart occurrence to happening, this is not a bad idea to look into these tests to see what's going on. Okay, so that's the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my other stuff. If you like the video, please like the video and just click the bell notification so you get notified that I made a new video.